With the release of the gameplay trailer for the new chapter, we were also introduced to a brand new monster, Doey the Dough Man. And honestly, I'd love to believe he's the last new character being added because at this point, there's barely any room left for them all. In this video, we're gonna break down each of the main characters of the new chapter, figure out their roles, and determine who's a good guy and who we should definitely be watching out for. Trust me, some of these characters are gonna blow your mind. We'll dive into Kissy, Missy, and Poppy, Pianosaurus, Yarnaby, Dr. Harley Sawyer, and of course, our Doey dude, Doey. And as a bonus, I'll even tell you about one more monster who hasn't been officially announced, but is almost guaranteed to show up and play a huge role. How sure am I? Let's just say, as sure as I have two hands. Now, if we're talking about the hottest topic on the list, it's gotta be Doey the Dough Man. To figure out if he's good or bad, we first need to understand who he actually is. The first hints about him dropped long before his official debut. We saw teasers of his hat, and over time, they led us to this moment. Here he is, our smiley, friendly-looking Doey. Thanks to his adorable grin, a lot of fans instantly labeled him as our helper and the savior of all the poor toys. But come on, guys, seriously? Jumping to conclusions this early is definitely something, huh? Honestly, I also thought he was our bro after my first watch of the trailer. But let's take a closer look at a few details from gameplay trailer and beyond. First, pay attention to a couple of key scenes in the gameplay trailer itself.
You lied to me!
Doesn't it seem a bit odd that Doey the Dough Man made his debut right after Poppy broke down crying, shouting, "You lied to me!" Sure, that could be directed at anyone. Heck, it might even be aimed at us for all we know. But the timing is just too suspicious to ignore. The fact that this emotional outburst happened right before Doey appeared is what really got me questioning things. Let's get one thing straight. I'm not here to convince or argue with anyone. I'm just laying out the facts and applying some good old logical thinking. It's important to consider every angle, not just jump to conclusions from one perspective. All right, let's keep going. That adorable mural on the prison wall? Yeah, the one that melted everyone's hearts because it shows Doey rescuing all the toys and leading them to his safe haven? Cute, right? But there's a small detail that throws a wrench in the whole wholesome vibe. Right next to that mural, there's another drawing that shows Poppy. But unlike the others, she's crossed out, like she's been excluded from this supposed paradise. If we link this back to the earlier point, it's clear there's some kind of tension, or maybe even a full-blown conflict between Doey and Poppy. Now, we trust Poppy, right? Or at least we think we do. But honestly, if we're being real, I'd recommend questioning every single character in this universe, aside from ourselves. If we trust Poppy though, why doesn't Doey seem to? What does he know that we don't? My head's already spinning with all these possibilities, but stay with me, there's more. Here's where things get even weirder. On Instagram, an intriguing image was posted. In this image, Doey's dough-like body appears to be absorbing the remains of Catnap and Mommy Longlegs, characters we know were taken by the prototype in previous chapters. That kind of hints that this chubby dude might actually be playing for the bad guys. But honestly, we still don't really know for sure. It's super hard and kind of risky to say for certain who Doey really is. Good guy or bad guy? I mean, I really want to believe he's on our side, if only because of how he looks. Like, come on, just look at him. Dude's an absolute legend, right? He's got this whole fun, squishy hero vibe going on. But hey, drop your thoughts in the comments. I seriously want to hear what y'all think. Right now, the fan base is totally split into two camps. One side's convinced he's a good guy, while the other's super sus about his true intentions. Alright, I'll be real, I wasn't planning on going this deep into just one character, but hey, maybe that's a good thing. Up next, we've got two obvious anti-heroes, Yarnaby and Pianosaurus. Now, Yarnaby, he's got potential, but Pianosaurus? Dude feels like he was thrown in just to fill space. Let's be honest, he's clearly a villain. And yeah, his debut was pretty epic, I'll give him that. But at the end of the day, he's just a flash in the pan kind of character. Maybe once Chapter 4 drops, we'll get more backstory or depth on him. As for what he's about, it's straightforward. Evil Dino gonna fight us, take the L, and eventually end up chilling with Miss Delight and the rest of the bad guys who tried and failed to take us down. Yarnaby's definitely more interesting, mainly because he's one of Harley Sawyer's biggest failures. Dude had so much potential at first. He was one of the most gifted kids around, and his abilities amazed pretty much everyone working at Playtime Co. But the second he turned into Yarnaby, everything went downhill fast. Now he's just a mindless monster. Experiment 1166 turned out to be such a disaster that Dr. Sawyer himself decided to isolate Yarnaby. He lost most of his brain cells in the process and basically stopped recognizing anyone other than Sawyer. We even saw his cell where Harley was studying him after the isolation. But overall, with Yarnaby, it's pretty straightforward. He's your typical bad guy monster. Just like Pianosaurus, he's gonna chase us down till we send him packing to the hell. Kissy Missy's return shocked not only me, but pretty much every fan out there. Cause let's be real, everyone thought she was a goner after that final scene in Chapter 3. And honestly, I'm so stoked she's back. Not only is Kissy a total boss, but she and Poppy are really the only ones we can trust at this point. At least that's the vibe I got after everything that's gone down. I have a feeling Chapter 4 isn't going to change that, and we're still going to have each other's backs. But the big difference is that in Chapter 3, we barely saw Poppy and Kissy, but in Chapter 4, we're going to be spending a lot more time with them. The prison is too dangerous and important, and without their help, we'd be dead within 5 minutes of stepping foot in there. Guys, let's be honest. Are you actually surprised Kissy came back? Here he is, the great and terrifying doctor, Harley Sawyer, who is definitely going to be the villain. And honestly, I'd say he's going to be the main antagonist of the new chapter. We all saw it coming, but what really threw me off was the news that Sawyer's working with a prototype. I mean, I figured he'd be a killer, but not this much of one. I've already talked about Sawyer to death in my previous videos, and I'm sure you all know the deal by now. Alright, now let's dive into the secret character. I've already talked about him, and I'm sure many of you have guessed it's the prototype. Of course, we can't skip talking about him now, especially with the recent news about his partnership with Dr. Sawyer. This initially struck me as weird, because their relationship was pretty tense at first. But I'm certain the prototype will definitely show up in Chapter 4, and it's based on simple logic. The chain of events in Chapter 3 pretty much screams that the prototype has to make an appearance in the new chapter, and with the whole Sawyer alliance, the chances of this long-awaited moment happening just shot up. I don't think it's worth getting into the prototype's goals or side here, but as usual, I want to hear your thoughts on the probability of seeing Experiment 1006 in Chapter 4. I think the video turned out pretty short, but still packed with content, and for some, even useful. We talked a lot about Doey the Doughman, but what can I say? That dude is the most interesting right now, and honestly, no one really knows what's up with him yet. We'll see what happens soon. Catch you later. Bye-bye.